attempting the June 2023 Principles of Business CXC Paper to Paper. This paper is being done today in order to prepare you guys for your examinations. So let's begin. Question 1A. List 4 sources of conflicts that may arise within an organization. Now, you guys know conflicts are disputes between management and employees. So in this case, 4 sources of conflict would include poor wages, poor working conditions, internal changes, and poor communication. There we see them listed, 4 sources of conflicts. Now moving on to part B. Describe each of the following strategies used by employees to gain the upper hand during periods of conflicts. So as we know, employees will engage in certain activities to gain the upper hand. One of them is called work to rule. Work to rule simply means where all the rules are followed exactly and nothing extra is done. Therefore, our answer should be every rule and regulation of every process and procedures in a company is carried out exactly, no extra work is done. This has the effects of slowing down the work process and putting pressure on managers to address employees' grievances. Great. Now part 2, picketing. Let's explain picketing. Picketing is a strategy used by employees during periods of conflict where they gather outside the workplace carrying signs or placards to protest against management decisions. The aim is to draw public attention to grievances, discourage others from doing business with the company, and put pressure on the employer to meet their demands. Alright, some good answers there, guys. Now, the third employee action that we did have to explain is called strike action. And remember, we are looking at describing them. So, strike action includes where employees collectively stop working as a form of protest against the employer. It's used to pressure management into addressing their grievances. Alright, guys, good job so far. Let's move on. Now, part C. Outline 2 strategies that can be used by management to resolve conflicts within an organization. Right, so now management wants to resolve the conflict. What can be done? Well, 2 major strategies that can be used by management to resolve conflicts include mediation and arbitration. Now, mediation is simply a method of trying to resolve conflicts. It involves an independent and an impartial person acting as a go-between to help 2 parties reach a solution. And remember, this mediator, his recommendations are not binding. Okay? Now, with arbitration, however, the same concept where you do have a third party brought in to listen to both parties, but with the arbitrator, he will recommend and give a solution to the problem, and his recommendation is binding. Both parties will have to agree to accept whatever his decision is. That was part C. Now, moving on, guys, moving on to part D. Explain 2 legal or ethical principles that business owners should adopt in the operational business. Well, legal and ethical. Legal means lawful, ethical means moral behavior. So 2 legal or ethical principles that business owners should adopt include 1, legitimate business operations. Business owners must ensure that their firm is a bona fide establishment and not used as a front for money laundering or other illicit activities. This ensures compliance with law and builds public trust. Another legal principle that they must follow ethical as well. They must ensure that they have lawful capital and proper payment of taxes. Owners should ensure that all capital is legally obtained and not sourced from illegal operations. In addition, they must meet their obligations by paying their taxes, which is national insurance contribution and your normal PAY taxes. Well, in this case, you have to pay your corporation tax. This demonstrates ethical responsibility and avoids legal penalties. Alright, guys, good job to explain those. Now that brings us to the end of question 1, which was worth 20 marks. Now let's move on to question 2. Now, question 2 tests your ability on the knowledge or the topic of entrepreneurship. So let's go. Define the term entrepreneur. As we all know, an entrepreneur is a person who undertakes the risk involved in establishing and running a business in the hope of making a profit. The key word here is undertaking the risk, guys. That's a key word. And the risk we are talking about is a financial risk. Good. Now let's move on to part B. List 3 characteristics of a typical entrepreneur. We just have to list them. So, 1, innovative, 2, persistent, and 3, flexible. Those are 3 characteristics of your typical entrepreneur. 3 marks there, guys. Moving on to part C. Define the term collateral for 2 marks. Now, collateral refers to all those assets, put up or pledged as security for repayment of a loan. Now, that was the answer right there, just define collateral. We guys know about collateral. In case you fail to repay the loan, then the institution that lent you the money will actually now take that collateral and be able to use that to recover the amounts outstanding to them. Let's move on to part two. Part two asks to list three examples of collateral. Now, collateral must be things that are valuable. Buildings, life insurance policies, and cash savings would all be good examples of collateral for 3 marks. Now, part D. State two government regulations with which the entrepreneur must comply when establishing a business locally. In your response, provide an example of each regulation. So regulation are basically laws that entrepreneurs will have to follow when setting up their business. And when they said locally, it means local laws. And give an example of each regulation. No problem. Let's get it done. Now, first of all, businesses must ensure that the law of business registration is done. Entrepreneurs must register the business with the relevant government authority to ensure that this is recognized as a legitimate entity. An example of this is registering with the registrar of companies within the country that they are planning to set up in. Secondly, another law that they must follow is taxation and national insurance compliance. Again, they must comply with tax laws and make their contributions to national insurance schemes. This ensures the business operates legally and supports national development. So they will have to pay all their taxes, and the example that we're using is pay their value-added tax to the government. Right, guys, that was part D. Great answers so far. Time to move on to part E. Explain two ways which entrepreneurships contribute to the economic development of your country. Economic means developing a country in terms of wealth. Well, in terms of number one, an entrepreneur will provide goods and services to satisfy citizens. They create businesses that produce and supply goods and services needed by the population. This will help to improve the standard of living, ensures that citizens' needs are met locally, and reduces dependence on imports. Good, because we are here providing local goods and services to satisfy citizens. But the second way in which entrepreneurship will contribute will be number two, creating jobs and contributing to nation building. By establishing enterprises, entrepreneurs will generate employment opportunities for others. This reduces unemployment, increases income levels, and strengthens the economy. In addition, by paying taxes and contributing to social programs, entrepreneurs support national development and they help build infrastructure and public services. These are two ways in which entrepreneurship will contribute to the economic development of your country. Good job so far. Now, guys, we have finished with question 2, which was worth 20 marks as well. So, time for us to move on to question 3. Now, question 3 deals with a bit of marketing, so let's have a look. Identify 2 factors that must be considered when packaging goods for resale. Now, packaging goods, packages help with protection of the items, and packaging also is for use, presentation use. You want to make the packaging attractive and informative. So, 2 factors, protection and presentation. Presentations should be attractive and informative. That was just 2 marks, guys, just identifying those 2 factors. Now, part B1 lists 4 qualities of success. Alright, guys, lists 4 qualities of successful salespersons for 4 marks. Now, salespersons should be well informed about their product. Salespersons should be very persuasive, where they can encourage others to buy their product. Salespersons must be very enthusiastic about their product, and they also must be credible. Credible means that they must believe in the product that they're actually selling. Good. Now, part 2. Describe 2 sales motion techniques. Now, sales motion techniques are techniques that, short-term techniques that will be used to encourage persons to buy your products. And as I said, a short-term technique. So what do businesses engage in? Well, let's have a look. 2 sales motion techniques will involve 1. Price reductions, where businesses temporarily lower the price of goods and services to encourage customers to buy more. Example, a store may advertise a 10% off sale, and this is a short-term technique, as we said. Free samples as well. Companies may distribute small quantities of a product at no cost to customers, so customers can try it before purchasing. Examples: supermarkets may give out free samples of new food items to attract buyers. So, again, sales promotion techniques are short term ways in which businesses can be able to attract customers, and there we go. Now, moving on to part C. Distinguish between a cash discount and a trade discount. This is almost like a POA question. Well, a cash discount, as we all know, is a reduction in the amount owed that is given to a customer for paying their bill promptly, usually within a specified time. So, some customer owes money, give them some discounts in order to encourage them to pay. Example: a supplier offers 5% of its payment, or supplier offers 5% off if payment is made within 10 days. Now, a trade discount is a little bit different because a trade discount is actually a reduction in the price of the goods and services given to retailers or wholesalers. This is usually used to encourage bulk purchases or continued business. Example: a manufacturer gives a 20% discount to a retailer who buys in large quantities. So, trade discount is usually given for bulk buying. Moving on to part D. Kylie created a new rhythm of Caribbean soca beats and wants to sell it online to overseas producers. Explain to Kylie the importance of obtaining the copyright for the music. Now, copyright is a bit of intellectual property rights where you seek legal protection for creations from your own mind and from your own talent. Now, in this case, copyright for music. Now, the copyright gives Kylie the legal right of ownership over her music. She can now control how music is used, reproduced, or sold. It protects her from others copying or profiting from her work without permission. Kylie, by now being the legal owner of her work, she can now license her music to producers where they'll have to pay her fees such as royalties, and this will encourage her, to keep on working and, make sure that her work that she does is legally safeguarded. There we go, guys. Nice remarks explain the importance of obtaining copyright for music. Now, coming down below in part D2, Jovan excels in culinary arts. A new local nut was discovered with a high nutritional value, and he created the unique dessert Nutty Joe for the young and healthy conscious. Explain to him the value of obtaining a trademark for his product. Now, very similar intellectual property rights. This trademarks give Jovan exclusive rights to the name Nutty Joe. That name is legally his. He's got a trademark for it. And this protects it from being copied or used by competitors. By having this trademark and a special name that he has legally gotten as his own, this ensures that customers can easily identify his dessert and associate it with his brand. By registering a trademark, Jovan builds brand recognition, secures his identity, and gains legal protection against imitations. Great job, guys. 3 marks for explaining the value of trademark as well. Now that brings us to the end of question 3, guys. Looks pretty good so far. So time for us to move on to question 4. Now question 4. Question 4 deals with a bit of logistics and a bit of marketing as well. Retailers and wholesalers. Let's start off. State 2 functions of each of the following intermediaries in the chain of distribution. Now, retailer. A retailer, as we know, is one who would normally buy in large quantities from wholesalers and then sell back in smaller quantities to consumers. So, functions of a retailer include offering a variety of goods to consumers in convenient quantities. Retailers also give consumers advice on their purchases. Now, wholesalers are the ones who normally buy in bulk from manufacturers and then sell back to retailers. Wholesalers' functions include providing warehousing for the goods and also selling goods in large volumes and credit to retailers. Those are 2 functions of the wholesalers. Now, coming down to part B, guys. Identify 2 links in your distribution chain other than retailer and wholesaler. Now, as we know, the links in our distribution chain include manufacturer to the wholesaler, then to the retailer, and then the consumer. So they ask us other than retailer and wholesaler. Therefore, 2 other links will be manufacturer and consumer for 2 marks. Now coming down to part C. Identify the most suitable type of transport for each of the following products. Now, meat being transported from local farms to restaurants, this will be used via road transport. Bricks from construction company to building site, road transport again. Crude oil from the oil field to the refinery, well, oil is transported via pipelines, guys. And then cars from country A to country B, this will be transported via sea transport, and 1 mark each for those. Part D lists 4 problems that may occur in the distribution of goods. Well, distribution of goods problems that might happen include delayed shipment, spoilage, misdirection of goods, and inadequate warehousing facilities. And 4 problems, 4 marks. Right, let's move on straight down to part E, guys. Explain 2 measures that can be implemented to minimize challenges that may occur in the distribution of goods. Well, to minimize delays, shipment, and misdirection of goods, businesses can invest in reliable vehicles and GPS tracking. This ensures that goods reach the correct destination on time, reduces customer complaints, and improves overall efficiency. Good job. Now, another measure that can be used to minimize challenges include, well, the challenge we're looking at is to prevent spoilage. So in order to prevent spoilage and inadequate storage problems, businesses should establish well-equipped warehouses with refrigeration, perishable and organized inventory systems. This protects goods from being damaged, maintains quality, and ensures products are available when needed. Right, guys, so far so good. Those are different ways or measures that can be used to minimize challenges that may occur in the distribution of goods, and that would have been worth another 6 marks. Now, this brings us to the end of question 4, and time for us to move on to question 5. Now, question 5 is testing us on section 10, business technology and the global business environment. Let's have a look at question 5. Now, question 5, part A, define the term standard of living. Now, standard of living refers to the level of wealth, comfort, material goods, and services available to individuals or community. Now, part 5A2. Identify 2 factors that will determine a country's standard of living. Well, what will help to determine, the level of wealth, comfort, material goods and services the persons use, or level of consumption of goods and services, and even the average disposable income of the population. These are 2 factors that will determine a country's standard of living. Now, coming down to part 3, define the term infant mortality rate or rate of infant mortality as a quality of life. Now, quality of life is a bit different to standard of living. Quality of life is the kind of life persons actually enjoy. Now, in terms of rate of infant mortality, well, rate of infant mortality refers to the number of infants who die before reaching 1 year of age. If there's a high infant mortality, this indicates poor health care and living conditions, while a lower rate reflects better quality of life and access to medical services. There we go, guys. 2 marks for defining the rate of infant mortality as a factor in terms of quality of life. Time for us to move on to part B. Describe each of the following measures of national income. Now, GNP is the first one. Now, GNP refers to the total value of all goods and services produced by citizens of a country within a year. This part here now, clear, guys, pay really close attention. Whether production takes place locally or abroad. It measures the overall economic activity of nationals, including income earned overseas. So GNP, again, value of all goods and services produced by citizens of the country, whether the citizens are located locally within the country, whether they have assets that earn revenue from abroad. When that revenue comes in from abroad, that is considered part of the GNP of your country. Right, guys? Make sure you remember that. Now, GDP is a little bit different. GDP refers to the value of goods and services produced within a country's borders during a given year. It focuses only on domestic production, regardless of whether the producers are citizens or foreign investors. So again, GDP simply looks at the value of goods and services produced within a country's borders only, nothing coming from abroad. Alright, guys, that's GDP. Now, per capita income is the average income earned per person in a country during a given year. It is calculated by dividing the national income by total population. Great job. The time for us to move on to part C. State two reasons why countries engage in international trade. Now, guys, that's an easy question for us. We are accustomed to international trade. Now, first reason, a country might not be able to produce the goods and services that they need in the quantities that they require. They might be able to produce some, but they might be able to produce this in the total amount that they want, so they'll have to purchase from other countries. Another factor, a reason why countries engage in international trade, a country may not have the climate to grow certain foods and they will have to depend on trade to get them. And we all accustomed to that, right? All those apples that we import from the United States. Now, part D, guys, explain two ways in which foreign investments could positively impact Caribbean countries. Now, foreign investments, these are when persons from abroad come to our country to make investments, and when they do this, positive things could happen, including job creation and training. Now, foreign investors often establish businesses such as hotels, factories, or companies in the Caribbean. This creates employment opportunities for local citizens. It helps reduce employment and it also allows workers to gain new skills and training that will improve productivity. Great, that's a nice positive effect that foreign investments could have in our country. Another positive effect that it could have is that remember profits are being generated and so on, so it will encourage economic growth and infrastructure development. Foreign investments can bring in capital that can be used to expand industries, improve technology, and build infrastructure such as roads, ports, and communication systems. They will strengthen the overall economy, increase exports, and even improve the standard of living within the region. Those are another two ways in which foreign investments could positively impact Caribbean countries. Nice, guys. Now, this actually brings us the end of question 5 and actually brings us the end of your paper. So we just went through June 2023 Principles of Business CXC paper. All right, guys, well done today. Now, please like and subscribe, even add your comments in order for us to be able to provide you guys with new content on an ongoing basis. So have a good one, guys. See each other again pretty soon.